In this tutorial, we're going to talk about 7 steps of how to get started with exercise after lower back pain. Now, what we are going to do is I'm going to make a few assumptions as I go through this, because I'm going to jump a few steps and talk about how you get back into what I would describe as like fitness exercise rather than just exercise itself for lower back pain. If you are struggling with lower back pain and you do need some help with it, just click the link below. You can go through to my online coaching and consultation. And what we'll do there is go through full consultation and assessment. I've got online and face-to-face that can be done. So if you're in the UK, there will be a link below for that as well. But yes, and then once we've gone through the consultation and assessment, we'll get you through and start looking at a rehabilitation program that you can start working into. Step number 1, as I will always mention, is understanding the triggers. So we've got to understand the triggers first. We've got to understand, is it a disc creating the pain? Is it a muscle creating the pain? Is it joint instability creating pain or triggering pain? We've got to establish all these different things first before we can start putting together exercise. But what I'll do now is I'll assume that that's happened and that you've gone through a degree of rehabilitative exercise, and now you're ready to start moving back into what would be described as fitness exercise. So step 2 is the management of intensity. Now that could be through the reps, it could be through the sets, it could be the load that you're using or the weight that you're using, it could be the duration of the session. So first of all, we've got to establish what that is. Now in some respects that will come from if you have gone through some sort of exercise rehabilitation process. You will understand where that is. You'll have an initial understanding of the exercises that you can do, and you'll then start to understand the reps, the sets, the load that you can use. But it all comes to the management of intensity first, and then in some respects, what I'm going to talk about next can work alongside the management of intensity. And that's choosing suitable exercises. So again, as we've talked about, if you've gone through an exercise rehabilitation process, you'll have an understanding of what exercises that you can do. But that has to grow. So there is some point to which we have to start growing that. And in some respects, your body will start to tell us what that is. So once we can understand that, we can start growing that. But you do have to start putting in exercises where you don't quite know what the answer is going to be. You'll have a decent idea because of the process that we've gone through to start with, or that you've gone through to start with, and you can start putting those in and then start gathering information on whether that's working or not. And that leads to step number 4, which is the gathering of the data. So as you start adding in these exercises, as you start managing the intensity, you can then start gathering data, because at some point, if you've been restricted or restricted yourself to half an hour workouts 3 times a week or 4 times a week or whatever it might be, there is some point where you're going to want to go to 45 minutes or going to want to go to all the way to an hour. And then you might want to go from that 3 times a week to 5 times a week or whatever, or 1 time a week to 2 times a week. Doesn't really matter where you are, it matters how you go about progressing. And that comes through all the gathering of data. So you'll start to do something. Now you won't just randomly start doing something new. You'll have an idea based on what you've done previously about what's working and what's not working. And then you go about gathering the data about whether it is working or not working. And then you can either remove that or add more in or whatever you need to do. But first of all, you have to establish sort of where you are, and then you can start moving forward on where you want to go and where you want to get to, but based on information, not just randomly choosing things on a whim or on a guess. Next is then essentially what I've just talked about. What works and what doesn't work. So you've got to take all those different variables, so the new exercises that you're choosing, the new reps and sets that you're choosing, the new weight that you're choosing, the new duration of session that you're choosing, or the new frequency, which is how many times you do it per week. You've got, as you choose those, you've got to work out whether that's working or not working. And how you go about doing that is try to choose one at a time, because what will then happen is you'll start to understand whether it's worked or not. And if you choose 3 or 4 of them, then it could be 3 or 4 things that's worked and not worked, and you don't quite know which one it is. But if you just choose one at a time, then you'll start to understand, well, yeah, I've gone from the same workout but doing it 4 times a week, and that's not working. So I need to go back to 3 times a week and maybe try something different. Maybe choose different exercises on different days. see whether that works. And then again, you can go about that process and work it out. Is it working or is it not working? And then what will happen is your body will tell you the direction that you're going in, whether things are working and not working, and then essentially all you do is you keep doing the things that are working and the new things that work, and you stop doing the things that you're doing that aren't working, or the new things that you bring in that aren't working. The only thing to say on that is what doesn't work now doesn't mean it won't work in the future. So don't just disregard it and say you should never do that, because in the future it may start working and actually be quite helpful for you. Step 6 is then just repeat that process. So you go through a process of working out whether things work and don't work. When they do work, you do that for a period of time and go, right, I've kind of got to the end of that. Right, now what else can I build in? Right, so I build that in. And then again, you're just kind of going through that cycle of managing intensity, choosing new exercises, gathering data on that, working out whether it works or not, and then repeat that. Once you know it works and once you know what works, you just repeat that cycle. Make sure it works, repeat the cycle. Make sure it's all working, repeat the cycle. Make sure it's all working, repeat the cycle. And what that's essentially doing is building a breadth of exercises and movements and intensities and reps and sets that you know that you can do. Once you get to that point, you then start to build essentially an exercise library of what you know you can do and how you do it, with the reps, the sets, the frequency, the intensity, so on and so forth. So you then start to have a fitness workout essentially, and then all you've got to do is the final step, which is then just to build capacity and then build those layers of fitness. So you start adding greater levels of intensity, greater levels of load, which again is an intensity, greater frequency, so you do it more often. But again, you've always got to be watching what's working, what's not working, because if you start then building up your exercise, what you may then find is the lower back pain starts to come back, and that can just be an intensity thing. So it might just be then every once in a while, as you start noticing that, just rein the intensity back, let the back settle, and then build forward again. Because if the postures and the exercise technique is staying the same, the exercises that you're choosing are the same, and you know that they work, it can just be the intensity as it builds up starts to take its toll on the body. So you just need to rein that back and then allow the body to recover and then build it back up again. So you're not working in a linear fashion where you just kind of go up like that. You work to build up. Okay, I need to ease back, then I need to build up again, then ease back, then build up again, then ease back. So you're always working in that mindset of having periods where you just ease things back, allow the body to recover, and then grow forward from there. So it's not just a simple case of going, okay, I've sorted out my lower back pain. Now what I need to do is fitness exercise and just jump back into what would be normal fitness exercise. You may just get prescribed a program, right? Go and do that. You may purchase something online. Okay, go and do that. It's not a case of doing that. It's not like you're not ready for that and then all of a sudden you are ready for that. There's a process that you need to go through to build up the capacity and the resilience within your body to be able to cope with different workouts. And then you've still got to do that process. Is that workout working for you? Gather that data. Is it working? Is it not working? And then repeat the process. So you have to build your capacity within your body, the confidence in the mind that your body can cope with all of that, and an understanding that you can do that. You have the capacity to do it, so on and so forth. So to summarize this video, there are 7 steps to help you get back into fitness exercise. Number 1, again, once you've assumed that you've got stage 1, which is understanding the triggers, you've gone through some sort of exercise rehabilitation, you're then ready to manage intensity, to choose more suitable exercises, to gather data on that, to find out whether it's working or not working. Then essentially just repeat that process, which is then going to build an understanding of all the exercises that you can do, the reps and the sets that you can do. And then the final stage is just then start layering on the intensity, layering on the layers of fitness, which can then take you more specific and sport specific type of training, and sort of just opens the world of fitness back up to you. If you've enjoyed this content, please do hit the like button below. It will help with this, with my tutorials within the algorithm. Please do subscribe to the channel. You'll be notified when my next one's released. And also, please do leave any comments and questions below, and I'll get around to answering them as quickly as I can to give you the answers that you need within the framework of it being a YouTube comment. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris. I'll speak to you in the next tutorial.